Okay. How's everybody doing? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we're just gonna give everybody a second to join and then we'll get started. And bear with me while I bring up the screen share. Okay, can everybody see that okay? Okay, perfect. Yeah, we'll give people a minute. Yeah, all right, let's just get started. Thank you, everybody, for joining our 2024 business report call. This has been a really great year for the business. And every year in the beginning, we love to do this kind of retrospective look at what we achieved in the year previous so that we can really level set the whole organization for the upcoming year. So that's the purpose of this call. And I have a little bit of an agenda to walk everybody through today. Yeah, so we're going to get started with the 2024 overview, which includes a couple of key metrics that we measure for the health of the business. So we have business metrics, and then we're going to be taking a look at growth. So this really is talking about our audience, going back to what's important, our viewers, and what they have contributed to the business this year. And we have a couple of notable events that we'll speak about that happened in the company. It'll be a nice reminder for us as we head over into 2025. And we will have a little bit of a short break, get some coffee, drink of water, and then come back for our retrospective exercise. So that's the agenda for today. And if no one has any questions, we'll move on into part one. Yeah, so let's look at our 2024 metrics from last year. So overall, the output of our business in the last year, it's seen a very marginal downturn of performance year over year from 2023 to 2024. But as we will see, the total completion rate is not really what we want to focus on. We want to be sure to acknowledge some of our incremental wins as well. So we have a total finished number of objects at 44. And that breaks down into a couple of different categories. We're seeing the clothing category, which involves a lot of the big ticket makes that we have done over the year. So that involves sweaters, a lot of tops. They are very crucial pieces to our business, and we capped off the year at 12 in that category. This has seen a little bit of a downturn from last year, as I mentioned, but we really excelled in the accessories division. And the accessories division landed at 27, which I believe is a higher count than last year. There's a lot of contributing factors to this. A big contributing factor is that a huge part of this category is made up of socks, which saw a huge uptick with a lot of automation tools that we acquired over this year, namely the circular sock knitting machine. So that's why we are seeing this rapid increase in the accessories division. The miscellaneous category has a lot of big ticket items as well, namely our big crochet blanket, which took us all in all a good part of 2024 to kind of get back into the swing of it. That project is an initiative that was started about 2 years ago prior. So it has been a really big win for us this year to really put an end on that project and be able to ship it to our audience. So that is something that I really wanted to call out for that team. So congratulations on completing that project. A lot of the miscellaneous objects this year also saw a uptick in the plushie department, which is a new addition to our business this year, and that up-leveled skill is providing a lot of joy to our audience as well as our business. So I really want to bring that up as well. So another really interesting metric for this year that we want to hit on is the number of gift knits that were knit for this year, which is counting in at 17. So out of the total 44 finished objects this year, we were able to disperse about 17 of that to our community around us, and that is a key part of our company mission, is to give back to our community. So I am really proud of the team for achieving that as part of our 2024 objectives. So congratulations everybody for achieving that huge milestone number. And on the right, we just have a visual graphic breakdown of our numbers. We're seeing the accessories at 61%, by far our largest category. And clothing came in at 27%, and the miscellaneous came in at 12%. So really wonderful job everybody this year. We've had a huge number of output, and we're going to go straight into the growth. The growth category is largely based on our audiences that joined us in our business this year. So we hit a couple of really big milestones this year as well. I think overall, the trending numbers have slowed a little bit compared to last year as well. But given that we hit this big milestone number of 10,000 subscribers in the June of this year, I think we're on a really great trajectory upwards. Not necessarily that we really want to be striving and driving for that upward swing in the numbers. I think we have to also be not so growth minded in our business. We have to be really focused on this construction of community rather than just being really hung up on these numbers. So I also want to point that out as well. But as far as subscriber count, over this year we saw almost 5,000 new people join us as we continue our journey with the business, which is amazing for us. And as far as some quick numbers with views and watch times, our audience has contributed to nearly 350,000 views over the last year, as well as almost 80,000 watch time and hours over the last year, which is honestly a mind-boggling number to think about. So I think I do also want to congratulate the team as well as our audience for contributing to this wonderful community that we were able to build up as part of Future Fiber. So thank you so much to everybody for this. And we also have a visual where these are just some fun metrics that I was able to pull from the business. We did a quick poll about our sentiments, and that is mapped to this chart right here. So the next slide, we will be going into some notable events. The first one is a little bit of a blocker, which has contributed to the slight decrease in our metrics this year, and that is that Jenny got a job again. I think this has been this is a method for us to reinvest into the business. At the end of the day, a business is in need of cash injection, and I think this was a good way for us to achieve that without sacrificing our mission as a company. However, because this is an initiative that takes time away from our business, we have to think about the implications of that against our ability to produce our finished objects. So yeah, just wanted to mention that as a little bit of a blocker for Future Fiber, but nothing that we cannot work around as a team. I think another thing that I really want to highlight is some of our new automation workflows that we invested in this year. So like learning to use the circular sock knitting machine. Really huge congrats to the team for figuring this massive win out for the team. Now we're able to produce our gift knits at an even faster pace, and we're able to distribute these back to our immediate circle of community, and hopefully they'll enjoy them. And lastly, I want to cap off with our new learned skills. This has been a year of picking up and really improving our craft, so to speak. So we started with our stranded color work. This is a new skill acquired that previously we haven't seen a lot of investments into, but this year we really were able to see some improvements in that sector. So that is a great win for us. And I think the next two are sourced kind of from our community around the sock making adventures that we've been having as a group. And the first is the afterthought heel, as well as the Finchley graft, which is a skill that was sourced directly from our community. So congratulations to our audience for floating that to the top of our radar. We were able to pick that up and really hit the ground running with that. There are always wins and shout outs that I forget in these presentations. So if you are able to think of any for the rest of the team, please feel free to shout them out in the respective channels. I will be looking out for that in the next coming days after this presentation. Okay, well, that's everything for this part of the presentation. We will have a short break, so stretch your legs, go get a glass of water, and join us for part 2 retrospective exercise that Jenny will walk us through, and I will see everyone in about 5 seconds. Thank you. All right, hi everybody. Thanks for joining this retrospective session. Let's get started. Now that corporate Jenny has left the room, we are ready to go back to just plain yapping. For this year, I wanted to bring back something that I did the first year that I started on YouTube, which is ranking my knits on a tier maker, because I think it's funny. For me, it's a little bit more of a fun way to present this information rather than just like yapping about the same things that I talked about for the past year. Hopefully you find this also funny. If not, I don't know what to tell you. Okay, so I am not going to go through all of the accessories that I knit this year because there's just too many and I can't find them to document them. So we're going to just do the main pieces that I was able to finish. We'll put them on a list from rank S to rank D. You know how it goes. So this is not in chronological order, but we're starting with our square tee by Knit Rohi that I knit up in the Haiku Kobashi DK in white with trim around the edges in navy. I finished this back in the summer and I got a lot of use out of it. I finished it at the tail end of summer, so I was kind of pushing it with the summer knits, but I feel like overall this was a really good addition to my wardrobe. I knit a square tee last year, I knit one this year, and depending on what I feel like my wardrobe needs are, I might knit one. Well, I guess this year is 2025, so I might knit one this year too, so stay tuned for that. But I think I'm going to put this guy in A. It's not an S because I want to be, well, first of all, I can't put everything in S, even though, you know, my little heart wants to put everything, give everybody A plus. But even though I did get a lot of wear out of it, there's some things that I'm not entirely happy with. The first thing is the length. I did make this square tee longer than the first version that I made back in 2023, but I do think an extra inch of this would really nail it. So I know that, you know, that's something that I need to look out for. But I ran out of yarn for this particular piece, so I just didn't have any more to work with. But if I really feel like that bothers me, I will buy more yarn and fix it up. That's one of the things that I'm not super happy with. The next thing was just around the trim. I feel like the I-cord, I just need to get a little bit better about it. It's not as neat of a finish as I had hoped. I think once it's worn, it's not that noticeable, but maybe it has something to do with the yarn that I chose to do the trim with, or whatever, but around the neckline especially, like it's not as like clean as it could be. I didn't do the best job picking up the stitches around the corners of the square, so I think that could be something that is improved. So that's why I'm giving it an A. But out of all these summer pieces, this is spoiler alert, but out of all these summer pieces that I've finished this year, I think this has been the most versatile and the most worn, so that's why it placed itself in A. Now we're moving on to the perfect stripe tank, heavily modified. The original pattern is by Sweater Freak, and this is knit up in some scrap yarn that I had left over from a different project, which we will talk about. It's made with Cascade Ultra Pima in the colorway white and navy primarily, and I used it to create this kind of like cropped tank top. The modifications that I made were mostly around the neckline and armhole finish. I want to say the original just has ribbing, but the way that I did it was I did a 2x2 rib, and then I did a 2x2 rib in the contrast color, and then I switched back to the main color, and then did a rolled hem stockinette that rolls over the 2x2 rib, and it turned out a lot better than I thought it would turn out for a scrap project. I did this mainly because I had yarn left over, so all in all, I'd consider this guy a pretty, pretty decent success. I'm going to put her in D. Or, sorry, I'm going to put her in B. Because while I think it turned out really well, there are some things that I would definitely change. First of all, the length. I don't really wear cropped anymore. I think it's because my pants keep falling down, because I don't know how to buy pants that are my size anymore, apparently. So that's number one. And there's like a weird gap between my pants and my top, and I don't love that. This tank top has less of a problem than a t-shirt because it doesn't have arms for it to like really ride up a lot. So it's okay in that aspect, but I think that's something that I would change. Another thing is I would probably want it to be a little bit oversized, like a smidge larger than the size that it is. I think I ended up knitting the third size, but I would go up one more, or just like add a couple more stitches somewhere to make the body a little bit larger. I think particularly around the bust, and especially for summer items, I would just want a lot of positive ease. I don't know if you've I basically don't wear anything that's like my size. I basically dress like Adam Sandler, and therefore I would give it a little bit more, you know, horizontal width. Those are the two things. And well, like also that I don't wear tank tops as much, and that makes it not as versatile as like a t-shirt for me, because I can't wear this on my, well, I prefer not to wear this on its own. I want to put something on top of it usually, and while that's good because layers and whatever, but it's just not as versatile, you know what I mean? So that's why I gave it a B, but it's very good. I really like this one. Okay, now we have the Tuileries polo. This is a design by Knits Pour Moi, and I knit this at the tail end of the summer as well. And it's a polo with kind of this like all over lace design, and I knit the whole thing up using Haiku Kobashi, the sock weight yarn. You can see that for summer I was really feeling the nautical, the white and the blue, which is interesting. I think this I feel kind of conflicted about ranking this one, because I think this one, out of all the things that I made this year, this looks the most professional. It has the highest quality finishes. It yeah, it just looks really good. It has the highest quality finishes. The technique, the lace technique that I used, it wasn't like it wasn't the most difficult thing that I've ever done, but I did put a lot of work into it, and I think the fit overall is like it looks like I bought it at a store. But I didn't really wear it. Part of that has to do with the fact that by the time that I finished it, it was already kind of transitioning into fall. And another problem was that it is a little bit see-through because of the all over lace. I think the original has the recommended yarn for the original is wool. So wool has that extra bloom to it, which kind of covers up the holes, and I think maybe the fabric is a little bit tighter. But this one, Haiku Kobashi, has a very like open feel to it, very breezy. So it's actually really good for its purpose, intended purpose of being worn in the summer, but I just haven't worn it that much because you have to be a little bit more careful about what you wear underneath. Um, Although honestly, like I probably shouldn't care that much. Like what are they gonna say? Like I'm wearing something underneath. I'm wearing a bra underneath. What are they gonna say to that? So that's why I haven't really like worn it that much. But I do think it looks really nice. Like I put it on for the try on part of the video and I just was I fell in love again. And I think the one other thing that I would change about this if I did this again is to increase the collar length by like maybe a centimeter. I already did from the pattern. I made it longer than the pattern, but then I still feel like it needs a little bit more. So that's what I would change. But so I feel really conflicted. I'm really proud of the work, but I also didn't really wear it that much and I'm like a practicality person. Yeah. It kind of makes me feel like I should not give it an S for that reason. So maybe we'll put it an A. All right. I think I'm okay with that. Okay, so the next one is the Breezy Tank, and this is a pattern by Kiss Kiss Rhinestones. I used Juniper Moon Farm Zoe in the colorway Midnight Blue, which is this like really vibrant electric blue. I think it's like a linen, like cotton kind of blend. So I bought this yarn at the tail end of summer again because what is season planning? And I just mostly created. I bought the yarn first, and then I decided on the pattern. So it was really just like a way for me to try out the yarn, and I like the yarn a lot. It has this like variable thick and thin quality to it, but I don't think it was the best choice for this particular tank top. The pattern, so it comes, the long sleeve is the original version, and then the long sleeve pattern also has a tank top version, sleeveless version. And part of what makes this pattern kind of fashionable or chic or whatever, I think has to do a lot with like the choice of the yarn. And I feel like maybe my yarn choice was a little bit too rustic for this particular design. So because the design is so minimalistic and then the yarn is like kind of rustic, I feel like it doesn't give the effect that I really wanted it to. But then I really like the drape of it. I think once it's worn and then I wear it underneath other things, it looks really good. It's just that once again with tank tops, like I can't wear this on its own. Well, I prefer not to wear this on its own, and that with the fact that the armhole also I felt like was very long. I don't know if that's a row gauge problem with my yarn or if I just didn't choose the right size, but I also felt like I wanted more positive ease in the body at the same time, so it was having a little bit of fit issues, and I'm not sure how much of that is chalked up to the pattern versus like my yarn choice and my size selection. So it's hard for me to say, but I do think this is something that I will give a D to. I'm going to be harsh. Like in my mind, I don't want to give anything a D, but then otherwise we wouldn't have anything in the last column and or in the last row, and that just feels wrong. So not a total failure of a project, but it's just something that I haven't really reached for. We have the Lonely Leftovers Vest. This is a pattern by Wool and Beyond. The yarn that I used is, I think, a mix of a drops boucle yarn held together with various white, cream, off-white acrylic yarns and like wool yarns that I had laying around the house that were kind of like in the DK to worsted weight range. It's a mix of that. And then the black yarn all around is a black acrylic yarn that I got from Michaels, and I believe it's the Loops and Threads brand. While it doesn't look like it was made from like leftovers, it kind of was. I kind of scrounged up all the leftover yarns that I had, and kind of like try to, put them together to make this more cohesive version of the Lonely Leftovers vest. And then I really wanted something with like a stark contrast between the main color and the contrast color. So, I mean, I guess I have a type. I have a couple of those things this year, so this is just like feeding into that. But I got a fair amount of use out of this. I'm going to give it no. I'll give it a B, because a vest, you have to wear it with something else. It's a layering piece, and I think this one in particular, I actually think I overdid it on the oversized look, so I should have sized down. Yeah, I mean, I think I really like how it looks. It's just that I just realized that this is not a look that I would wear very frequently, so I just haven't like taken it out of the closet and given it a spin too many times. And I feel kind of limited in how I can style this, so I think at the end of the day, this feels like a little bit more of a functional piece than like a fashion piece, which kind of goes against like the whole vest thing. It was a quick little project that I did to use up some yarn, so that's where I stand on this. I think I'm okay with it staying in the B lane. We have nothing in C right now. We are halfway through. We'll see if anything makes it to the C level. I feel like overall I had a pretty successful year. I didn't really make a ton of sweaters compared to last year. I think I was a little bit more productive in 2023, but life happens. It is what it is. So we're moving on to the cognac cardigan. This is a pattern by Atelier Cassin, and I test knitted this. The major modifications that I made were around the trim, but then everything else was following the pattern because I was test knitting, and I was test knitting the size, I think the 4th or 3rd size. I really like this. I got a lot of use out of this. The yarns that I used were also something that I had for a really long time in my stash. Both of the yarns were actually discontinued, which is, yeah, that's fun. But it was Brooklyn Tweed Peary for the base yarn, which is this like pink sock yarn, and the mohair that I held with it is Pearl Soho Broom, which is also discontinued. I was actually inspired by like a Chanel cardigan where it's very fitted, and it just had these like set-in sleeves, and it's just like a very standard cardigan. And this pattern really fit the bill for that kind of like standard fit because it has like the shaped sleeves. Yeah. The original comes in 2 different finish edge options. You get a twisted rib, 1x1 twisted rib, and the other is an I-cord bind off. And I actually did a regular 1x1 rib because I wanted it to look a little bit more standard, and I think that was the right move. I personally don't love how twisted rib looks. That's just like a personal opinion, and if I made this again, I would be interested in making the I-cord version just with like a single strand of yarn and not holding it with mohair, because I think that would give it a even cleaner look, kind of like the Petite Knit Maggie cardigan, but just like a different pattern. It's good to have options, and I really like this because it has a really good fit around the shoulders and the arm side. Like the only thing is that the mohair makes it hot, so I can't wear it for all the seasons, so I might look into making another version. But I think this one might go to S. Like, I think that's okay. Our first S. I got a lot of compliments on it, and I think it looks good on me, so I'm going to give it an S. And then now we're heading into another Wool and Beyond pattern. This is the thin sweater. This is knit up in fingering weight wool that I got from Yarn Farm Kingston. It's like a local wool. I don't think you can get it anymore, but it's just like kind of like off-white / gray mix. And I bought the yarn first, and then I thought of the pattern. So I used every single scrap of this yarn, and this is something that I like barely squeaked in at the end of 2024. So I actually haven't shown this to anybody yet, I guess, the finished form. So this will be the first time that you're seeing it in this video. I didn't even weave in all the ends, as you can see. I think the pattern is really nice overall. It has finishes, especially the X detail on the neckline, and the rolled hem edges make it look very on trend. And I really like the concept of it. I just don't think my execution was like the best. First of all, it's the yarn. The yarn is itchy. I was really hoping that I would be okay with it. And I'm like, yeah, maybe it'll be alright. Like, the more I wear it and stuff, but it's right next to skin. It's so tight around the arm that you can't wear anything underneath. So I just have to deal with it. That's part of the reason why I haven't worn it out yet, because I'm a little scared. And I also feel like the fit is a little strange, and I don't know how much of this is my fault. I feel like the arm is very tight in comparison to the body, the trunk of the body. The arms are pretty fitted all the way around, but then like around the waist and the bust, the body doesn't have any shaping coming down. It's just like a straight up and down. So it feels like, it almost feels like it's just like fits kind of strange on me. It kind of feels like I am wearing a shirt that is simultaneously too big and too small at the same time. And I do have a little bit of issue with the arm size as well. Once again, I don't know if this is because I should have actually sized up on the pattern, but the arm like hole coming in towards the center of the body on my body, I feel like it should be fitting more, coming in more, the arm side, but it kind of comes up and down in a straight line, like almost like how it should be if you do a drop shoulder, but this is supposed to be like a set in sleeve almost. So I find that when I pull on the sleeves a little bit, the fabric pulls this way, if that makes sense. It feels like there should be more three-dimensional space, connecting the sleeves to the front of the shirt, if that makes any sense. I don't know. That's just kind of how I felt about it. So I am a little bummed that I spent a lot of time working on this, and it's like not my favorite like daily basic item that I will reach for. So I think unfortunately I'm going to have to give it a D. Okay, now there's nothing in C. Maybe we need to move this guy up. I don't know though. Maybe this is fine. All right, we'll keep it as is, and we'll see if we need to reshuffle things at the end. Okay, now we're getting into the Christmas gift that I made for my boyfriend. This is the Wider by In-Young Kim, and this was knit up in Barocco vintage. This was a project that I basically did in the entirety of December. I did not finish on time, but it was pretty close. I finished like 2 days after Christmas, so let's just count that as me making the timeline. And I really like how it turned out. I think it looks pretty good on me, but it looks good on him too, I guess. And the pattern, I think, was not that hard to follow. This is my second or third ever knit that I am knitting in pieces and then seaming up together. But I think that was necessary for this piece because, one, I knit like the third largest size, so it's a very heavy sweater, but because of the neckline, the shawl color, I do think it needs some like reinforcement around the shoulder area and the side seam, so I get it. And I think the grading for this probably was just easier bottom up than like top down knit and single, so I get it. I don't want to call this a pleasant experience knitting, not because of the fact that this was like knit up in bits, but because I like it was my fault. I messed up a bunch of times doing it. So, yeah. I will talk about that more in a future podcast video, but I just struggled through this guy. But I did finish it, and I think the fit overall is really good on my boyfriend, and it looks good on me too, so I can steal it back. But I am going to. It's not an S for me because of the mistakes that I made. Um, Even though I did do a good job of hiding them. I do think the V goes a little too low. This is not something that you can wear without anything underneath. So versatility wise, it makes it a little bit like tricky. You can put buttons on it, I think, and then if I knit this again, maybe I would put buttons on it. But I didn't do that for this one. So I think overall, I'm going to be giving it a B. Or maybe this will be a C. No, I worked hard on it. I'll give it a B. Okay, I think maybe the Lonely Leftovers vest will move it down to a C. I think the Perfect Stripe tank and the wider is not quite on the same level as the Lonely Leftovers vest that I made. So we're gonna bump her down. I'm sorry, but that's where she will be. We're down to two. And these are one of my favorite makes of this year. The first one is the Simply Your sweater, and this is by Senna Knitting. And this is a free pattern that I followed. It's semi-charted, so I don't think it's as easy to knit up compared to how it looks. But I really liked how this turned out. The yarn that I used for this is it? Yeah, Cascade, Ultra Pima, and Barocco Pima 100. So they're both cotton yarns, but Pima cotton, but just from different brands, and that's just what they had at Nitty City, so I was picking based on color. This project I knit up really, really quickly. I think the stripe pattern and the combination with the yarns just made this a really fun project because the stripes were simple enough, but then also a little bit more complex where it wasn't a total mindless stockinette project, but then also the yarns were really easy to work with. So this is something that I would definitely purchase again. I was like very against cotton yarns for like the past couple of years, but I think I'm like turning on to liking cotton yarns more. So that was a really good discovery from this year. And I've gotten a ton of use out of this. I basically wear it whenever I can't think of anything to wear, just as like a throw on really simple work from home kind of outfit. And you know, it's like a nice pop of color. I got a lot of use out of it this year, and then I got a lot of compliments on it as well. So I really liked this, but there are a couple things that I don't love, and that is that I wish I had made the sleeves a little bit longer and then decreased a little bit more on the sleeves. That's my bad. That's not the pattern's fault. If you follow the pattern, you will not have this problem. It's because I was lazy and I did not decrease enough. And then the neckline is kind of tight, but I did that on purpose. So it's like a double-edged kind of thing where I bound off the neckline to be kind of tight because I knew that this would stretch over time because it is cotton. So far it hasn't stretched out massively because of that, but then it makes it kind of hard to, you know, put my big old head into the neck hole. So that's a little bit of a bummer, but I think it deserves an S. She deserves that place. Probably like my most worn make of the year, hands down. Last but not least, we have the Wanaka sweater by Andy Knits. And this is knit up in, once again, Haiku Koba CDK in the colorway Bubblegum. I really like that yarn, in case you haven't been able to tell. This is a year of cottons for me. I liked it. I liked it a lot. Really no notes, because I follow the pattern exactly. It was super easy to follow. It looks really good. I knitted like the size 4, I believe. I could have sized up one more, but I think this makes it a very standard fit, slightly oversized, positive ease, throw on, Henley neck sweater, which is exactly what I wanted. Really nice. It's just a little cold to wear in the winter. And it doesn't have as much positive ease as the Simply Your sweater because I chose not to knit it as oversized. So layering stuff underneath can get a little bit trickier, especially because all my t-shirts are massive. But this is another one of those things that looks really professional or really store-bought. All the finishings look really great. So I am wavering between an S and an A on this one. I think I'm going to put it in S because I got a ton of wear out of this after I finished it. I basically wore it for a week straight, which is kind of disgusting, but you know, better than not wearing what you made. So that's my list for this year. 10 sweaters or 10 tops ranked S to D. Do you agree? I hope this retrospective was fun and interesting. If it wasn't, I don't know what to tell you. For the things that are in D rank, this doesn't mean that they will go away. I just think that they weren't exactly what I hoped. But overall, this has been a very successful year for knitting for me. This is like nothing here. There are things in D rank because I had to put them there. But if I were to rank everything in my closet right now that I've ever made, these would be still in the upper half, I think. So I'm glad that my knitting has gotten better over the years. Thanks for joining what I made in 2024. Another one of these videos down. Hopefully I'll be able to keep up this productive / good makes streak. If 2025 is like 2024 in terms of what I make, I think it's going to be another good year. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!